Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtatar Shata Shri Srimad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtatar Shata Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, reading Srīmad Bhāgavatam Canto 3, Chapter 11, text number 4. Sa Kala Parama Anu Vai Ya Bhungte Parama Anutam Sata Avishesha Bhuk Ya Tu Sa Kala Parama Mahan Sakala Paramanurvai Yo Bhungte Paramanutam Sato Vishesha Bhugyastu Sakala Paramo Mahan Sakala Paramanurvai Yo Bhungte Paramanutam Sato Vishesha Bhugyastu Sakala Paramo Mahan Sakala Paramanurvai Yo Bhungte Paramanutam Sato Vishesha Bhugyastu Sakala Paramo Mahan. Sakala Paramanurvai Yo Bhungte Paramanutam Sato Vishesha Bhugyastu Sakala Paramo Mahan. Paramanurvai Bhungte Paramanutam Sato Vishesha Bhugyastu Sakala Paramo Mahan. Sakala Paramanurvai Yo Bhungte Paramanutam Sato Vishesha Bhugyastu Sakala Paramo Mahan. Mahan Sakala Paramanurvai Yo Bhungte Paramanutam Sato Vishesha Bhugyastu Sakala Paramo Mahan. Sakala Paramanurvai Yo Bhungte Paramanutam Sato Vishesha Bhugyastu Sakala Paramo Mahan. Matajis. Sakala Paramanurvai Yo Bhungte Paramanutam Sato Vishesha Bhugyastu Paramo Mahan. Saha, that. Kalaha, eternal time. Parama anu, atomic. Vai, certainly. Yaha, which. Bhungte, passes through. Parama anu tam, the space of an atom. Sattaha, of the entire aggregate. Avishesha, Bhuk, passing through the non-dual exhibition. Yatu, which. Saha, that. Kala, time. Parama, the supreme. Mahan, the great. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Atomic time is measured according to its covering a particular atomic space. That time which covers the unmanifest aggregate of atoms is called the great time. Purport. Time and space are two correlative terms. Time is measured in terms of its covering a certain space of atoms. Standard time is calculated in terms of the movement of the sun. The time covered by the sun in passing over an atom is calculated as atomic time. The greatest time of all covers the entire existence of the non-dual manifestation. All the planets rotate and cover space, and space is calculated in terms of atoms. Each planet has its particular orbit for rotating, and which it moves without deviation, and similarly the sun has its orbit. The complete calculation of the time of creation, maintenance, and dissolution, measured in terms of the circulation of the total planetary systems until the end of creation, is known as the Supreme Kala. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadah Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Dhanavirga Swaminiti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatya Desatarine. Atomic time is measured according to its covering a particular atomic space. That time which covers the unmanifest aggregate of atoms is called the great time. So I spoke about this briefly in a conversation yesterday, but the understanding that I heard in the conversation I couldn't find the exact explanation for that when I was reading some more. So I'll explain it in the way that my Guru Maharaj explained it to me, and he's did a lot of research on cosmology, so if I heard him correctly, then we should be okay. But as far as in this verse, we're hearing that the time is calculated in terms of the movement of the sun in the purport, and that the time covered by the sun in passing over an atom is calculated as atomic time. So as I heard it explained, you have the sun, and it's moving because it's a chariot. The whole setup is described in the Srīmad Bhāgavatam of the sun god on the chariot and how that all works. But as the sun moves over one atom, then that is the smallest unit of time. So he's like the timekeeper in the universe. He's the center for all of time, for calculating time. That's explained in one of the next purports. The sun is the central point for calculating all different durations. So as the sun moves on his path and goes over one atom, that's the smallest unit of time, and then we hear in some of the next verses these different measurements of combinations of atoms. So it's interesting because time and space are linked, and they're calculated together in this system that's presented in the Srīmad Bhāgavatam, which is much more advanced than what we see for calculating time or space with today's sciences. Like if you want to know a distance for something, it's if you travel a few feet or a few miles, you can give the distance. But to give the time, it's a separate calculation. But we see they're actually interlinked, time and space. So I'll try to explain that looking just at the next verse, some of the next verses. This is Srīmad Bhāgavatam Canto 3, Chapter 11, verse 6. If you just look at the time duration needed for the integration of 3 Trasarenus is called a Truti, and 100 Trutis make 1 Veda. 3 Vedas make 1 Lava. And in the purport, it is calculated that if a second is divided into 1,687.5 parts, each part is the duration of a Truti, which is the time occupied in the integration of 18 atomic particles. So as the sun moves, the time it takes for the sun to move over 18 atoms is 1,687.5 of a second. And so that is a Truti. So then you times that by 100, so now the sun's moved over 1,800 atoms, and the amount of time it took to do that is called a Veda. And let me see if I've got it written down here. Yeah, Veda. So that 1 Truti is 0.000592 seconds. So that's the second divided by 1,687.5. But then a Veda, now you've got that times 100, so 0.0592 seconds. Now the sun's moved over 1,800 atoms. And then if you look at the next verses, it gives more and more of these measurements. So then 1 lava, it's, 1 lava. 100 Trutis make 1 Veda, 3 Vedas make 1 lava, or 0.177 seconds. And then after that, 3 lavas is equal to 1 Nimesha, which is 0.533 seconds. And then 3 Nimeshas make 1 Kshana, 1.6 seconds. 5 Kshanas combine together to make 1 Kasta, 8 seconds. 1 Lagu, 15 Kashtas make 1 Lagu, that's 2 minutes. And then we get a Danda, which is 15 Lagus make 1 Nadika, which is also called a Danda. So that's 30 minutes, I think. Let me see. 2 Dandas make 1 Muhurta, and 6 or 7 Dandas make 1/4 of a day or night, according to human calculation. And then you get an experiment in the next text, which is explaining how to actually calculate a Danda, which you can do with this whole copper pot and water experiment. And it's 30 minutes, the Danda. So, yeah, all that's calculated from the sun moving over a certain amount of atoms. So the distance and the time it's the same thing, the words for the time or the distance. So that's actually really helpful because then you can calculate the distance of anything in the universe. So if you've got like a more expansive science, like greater knowledge than just what's going on in your town or your planet, and then for the rest of science, you try to just speculate on everything else. Maybe it's like this, maybe it's like that, and change everything. If you've got something greater than that, if you can have a science that explains what's going on in the rest of the universe and the distances between things and what's going on, then you would need this kind of system where you can explain distances and time in a way that it works no matter where you are in the universe. Because like we see, if this is also explained in modern science, if you're going at like different speeds or go to different places, different planets and things, time is like acting differently. We see the example in the Srīmad Bhāgavatam that this one king wanted to get his daughter married, so he went up to, and she was really picky, so he went up to Lord Brahma to give all of the standards of what she's looking for, which was pretty much the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so when he went to Lord Brahma, there was a concert going on, so he waited for some time for it to finish. And once, not like the modern concerts, which is described by Srila Prabhupada as music. Isn't there a quote where he says it's music more or less from hell that the demons are making? They're taking you to hell, like this band Kiss. So not like that kind of concert, but heavenly planet cultured concert. So he waits for the end of that, and then Brahma explains to him, he asks Brahma, so who can she marry? I know of these different families. And then Brahma explains to him, actually everyone that you've ever heard of is dead, and no one even remembers their names anymore. Because in the few minutes you waited, like millions of years have passed. So there's a difference when you go to different places in the universe. But with this system, the standard for time and distance is standardized and works to explain anything in the universe, and then you don't have to speculate because it's all based on the most small unit of measurement, the atom, and the time and space are linked. So one danda is a certain amount of space, a certain amount of atoms, and it's also a certain amount of time, 30 minutes. Let me see, I wrote down a few things. Oh yeah, and then also it's the sun. It's based on the sun, which is the center for the universe. And we understand from Vedic knowledge that the sun is one. There's one sun in the universe. And the verse is ecstatic. Yakchakshur esha savita sakala grahanam raja samasta suramurti rashesha tejaha yasya gyaya brahmati sambrita kala chakro govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within the fixed orbit of eternal time. The sun is the king of all planetary systems and has unlimited potency and in heat and light. So there's one sun that's lighting the whole universe that we're in. And where does it get that power? It gets that power from Krishna. In modern science, it's explained that there's many suns. There's many suns and many stars all over the universe, and some are light years away, and some are in other galaxies, and you can calculate this based on the red shift. By when you look at it, you can see what color does it look like in your telescope, and then from the color you can guess how far it is away. And it's honestly kind of absurd. If anyone can explain it nicely, you can go ahead. But yeah, so they say there's many stars, and based on the different colors of them, you can tell how far away each of these suns is, and some of them sometimes explode and then make like a black hole and destroy a whole galaxy, and all of this, and it all came from an explosion. But that's not the case. There's one sun, and that sun is giving heat and light to the entire universe. And the universe is explained as being 4 billion miles. Not that there's multiple suns and they're many light years away, and what is a light year and what is a redshift. But it's a 4 billion mile universe. And this is explained in Srīmad Bhāgavatam Canto 3, Chapter 11, Text 40, where Maitreya says to Vidura, this phenomenal material world is expanded to a diameter of 4 billion miles. What's the Sanskrit for the 4 billion? My phone messed up the diacritics. Let me see. 1140. 4 billion miles is this universe. How many koti? Panchashat koti. So 50 times 10 million. So, wait, is that right? Let me see. Let me look at the verse. Text 40.
It says 4 billion.
Okay, chapter.
It's yojanas. It's 500 million yojanas. 500 million yojanas.
Yojanas. That's where we got confused, I think. So pancha shat koti vishraha. So 10 million widespread. Yojanas. Okay. So 550 times 10 million yojanas. And the yojana is 8 miles. That's explained in the Srīmad Bhāgavatam and in many verses and purports that the yojana is it's 8 miles. So then you get 4 billion miles for the this universe that we're in, a diameter of 4 billion miles. Let's see. And then there's one other text, Srīmad Bhāgavatam 5:20-38. I'll just read the translation. Learned scholars who are free from mistakes. This is a nice point right off the beginning, because sometimes devotees want to try to, I guess out of being like afraid of contradicting modern scientists or contradicting modern civilization and like a fear of not fitting in with them, or whatever the reason is, want to adjust everything, whatever sphere of Vedic culture and devotional life you're looking at, try to adjust all of it to fit whatever the demons say about those things. So, including science. I think we've all mentioned many points about this with with preaching and culture and so many things, music, so many things. Sometimes devotees want to try and adjust to fit modern so-called culture. But we see also with science, devotees, even there's like a whole instruction given for the Temple Vedic Planetarium and how it should strictly follow what's in the Srīmad Bhāgavatam, and hopefully that happens. I don't know, I haven't like kept up with the news of how that's all going. But some devotees who get into the science of the Bhagavatam want to try to make sure that it fits what modern astronomy says. So if the universe is only 4 billion miles, then how can we accommodate all the black holes and the quasars and the many suns that are many light years away and the red shifts and all of these things? So it must not be 4 billion miles. Maybe that's, and then they come up with some other reasoning why we either understood it wrong or Srila Prabhupada's wrong, or maybe Shukadeva Goswami was confused. Because Shukadeva Goswami himself, he says at the beginning of the 5th canto something about how it's like, he makes some sort of statement about how you can't fit all of the information about the cosmic manifestation into, just this one section here. But so maybe he was just confused. They give some reasoning like that. So that's dumb. I don't think I need to explain why. But translation for this text, Canto 5, Chapter 20, Text 38. Learned scholars who are free from mistakes, illusions, and propensities to cheat. So there you go. When you're hearing from Brahma or Shukadeva Goswami or Srila Prabhupada, you're hearing from those who are free from mistakes, illusions, and propensities to cheat. Why? Because those things come with being conditioned by material nature. So Krishna, he's the owner of material nature. He's beyond its conditioning. And similarly, his pure devotees, they also are beyond the conditions of conditioned souls, of material nature. They're free from mistakes, illusion, propensity to cheat, all of these things. They're free from the modes of nature. Learned scholars who are free from mistakes, illusions, and propensities to cheat have thus described the planetary systems and their particular symptoms, measurements, and locations. With great deliberation, they have established the truth that the distance between Sumeru and the mountain known as Lokaloka is 1/4 of the diameter of the universe. In other words, 125 million yojanas, 1 billion miles. So there you go. It's 1/4, a billion times 4. It's a 4 billion mile universe. The diameter. Let's see. So yeah, you can see there's agreement between these different personalities that it's 4 billion miles, so there's no need to speculate. And then it's covered by surrounding coverings, which each get exponentially bigger of each of the elements. There's earth, water, fire, air, ether. There's intelligence, or there's the mind, intelligence, false ego. There's these coverings of the universe. And the universes are explained, we see in many of the different Vedic texts, to look like kajala fruits. Or what was it called? Not kajala, that's what you put in your eye. It starts with a K. Anyway, it looks like this round, lumpy green fruit that you can get in India. It's kind of a weird-looking fruit. I've never had it before, but you can look up a picture. I'll find the word for it later. But yeah, they're shaped like an egg or like a football or like this fruit, and they're floating on the water of the causal ocean. And one thing about the sun that the scientists don't know is how it's powered. I was hearing my Guru Maharaj explain about this because we were thinking of meeting with this one professor who's interested in sustainability and all of these things. And I did not note down the verse that speaks about it, but we understand that the sun is powered by water. It's absorbing, heating up the water in the universe, and it's powered by water. So, that's what we understand from Srīmad Bhāgavatam. The sun gains its power from water. So they don't know this, and they do so much to try to figure it out with their colliders and their experiments and this and that for hundreds of years, or for like a few years, and then they scrap that project that cost $1 billion and start a new one or whatever it is. But they don't know this, how the sun is working, how time and space, you can calculate them both together and have a really efficient model for understanding and measuring things throughout the universe. All of these things, they're lacking, but we're given those things in the Srīmad Bhāgavatam and in the Vedic literature. And this science that we're understanding from the Vedas, it is a science, and so Srila Prabhupada wanted it presented scientifically. There's not a Mood and Mission Volume 1 in here, is there? I'm sorry, I don't want you to run all the way. Okay. I'll share some quotes from it then. Sorry. But, so, Srila Prabhupada wanted this science of Krishna consciousness to be presented scientifically, and so I'll share some quotes about that soon, because it's a scientific movement. But just a little more about time. We understand also from the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is time, as I think everyone for the next chapter is going to give that example in their class maybe. He says, Kalosmi, that time I am. And so people can change so many things. They can change their mind. They can even change, different things they're working on. They can even change the land, some of the earth. They can change around. They can even change the world. Sometimes people say they'll, make some idea that many people will talk about for many years or for some amount of time. But no one can change time because that's Krishna. You can adjust the clock on the wall, but you can't change or adjust time. And like we heard yesterday, thank you. And like we heard yesterday, you can make some small adjustments to karma, but you can't change someone's the time that they're allotted and all of that, what's going to happen to them, because that's Krishna. He says, time I am. Okay, so there's a section about how the Krishna consciousness movement is a scientific movement. Let me just find it. Worldwide movement, dignified, prestigious movement. Every chapter is so ecstatic. Okay, educational movement. Here we go. It's in here. Benefiting the world with knowledge of Gita and Bhagavatam. That's one section in the chapter educational movement. But let me see, there's just one part about it being scientific. Sorry. Okay, I think this is it. Spiritual science. Is that it? Okay. So in the chapter authorized movement, there's a section here. Okay, never mind. There's a whole section called Krishna Consciousness is a Science. So just a few quotes we could read from there. Science means that which is applicable to everyone. Religion is a kind of faith which you may believe or you may not believe. This is a quote. Here, another quote. Krishna consciousness is a science, how to make people happy in this life as well as the next. Another quote. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on a solid philosophy of transcendental science. Next quote. It is the most scientific and authorized movement for the actual welfare of the whole human society. Next quote. It is not a sectarian religious sentiment or fanaticism. It is not that. It is a science, social science, political science, cultural science. Everything is there. Let's see. Here's one other one. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. Vijnana means science. It is not concoction, speculation. It is a science, just like math is a science. 2 + 2 = 4. You cannot make 2 + 2 to 5 according to your whims. No. Anywhere you go, it doesn't matter because it is science. So either in America or in India or in England, everyone will accept. 2 + 2 = 4. That is science. Science is true everywhere. Not that I can imagine my God according to my whims. You can imagine your God. That is going on. No, how can you imagine? There is no question of imagining. And now on Srila Prabhupada wanting his disciples to present Krishna consciousness in a scientific way. Let's quote here. Present Krishna consciousness not as a religion, but a science of God realization. Try to convince them that it is not just a kind of faith. It is a chance to understand God. In every religion, there is a glimpse of the idea of God. This movement is explaining what God is. The educated persons should be convinced about this fact. Every sane man should be interested to know God and then love Him. So those are a few quotes on Krishna consciousness being a science. And we see the science that's given in the Vedas is so much greater than what's given in the modern day when everything changes. Like if you just look at, you want to understand the age of the universe, you can see what science has said about this throughout the years, what's been the accepted fact in the field. And from like 1890 until today, you see every couple of years it changes, and not by a small change, like they might say this many million years, and then after that they'll say this many million years, like 0.2 or something. But big changes. At one point they're saying it's a couple thousand years old. At another point they say it's eternal. At another point, it just huge changes year after year after year. So that's not very scientific. So now on the whole point of time, I thought it would be interesting to hear about, because we understand that Krishna is time, so He's dominating everything in this form of time. You can't change time or adjust it or get out of it in some way. And we hear that one of the symptoms of a pure devotee is that they don't waste time. And Rsi-Kumar Prabhu gives a nice example of this with Srila Prabhupada and how he utilized time throughout the day. So I can read I can put this on the board, I guess. Let's see. Is there a code? It's asking me a code. 8057. I don't know why. Okay. That's not possible to read for everyone. Really? Okay. Rsi-Kumar Prabhu. It is hard to say when Prabhupada's day begins and when it ends, because he never seems to conclude his activities in the way we do. He only rests for a few hours each day, and even that is intermittent. Srila Prabhupada maintains a remarkably regulated daily routine. While here in Vrindavan, his schedule is 6 a.m., wash, brush teeth, and take Ayurvedic medicine, 6:30 to 7:30 a.m., morning walk, 7:30 to 8:30 a.m., greet the deities, Guru Puja, then Srīmad Bhāgavatam lecture from the 7th Canto, 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., breakfast of fruits and chira, 9:45 to 11:15 a.m., rest on roof for an hour, and then meet people, usually by appointment. 11:15 to 1:15 p.m., massage with oil. 1:15 to 1:45 p.m., bathe. 1:45 to 2:30 p.m., lunch prasadam. 2:30 to 3 p.m., sit in room or chant japa. 3 to 4 p.m., rest. 4 to 5 p.m., meet with specific people or devotees or chant. 5 to 6:30 p.m., give public darshan. 6:30 to 9 p.m., meet public or senior devotees. GBC Business, or Just Chat, 9:30 p.m. And you can imagine what is a Just Chat with Srila Prabhupada. So take hot milk, massage and rest. 12 to 1 a.m., rise and translate. 5 a.m., light rest or japa. Srila Prabhupada's typical routine goes something like that today. And just a few details from his diary after that. After his all-night translation work, he stopped at Mangalarti time and lay back against the bolsters with his feet up. He slept lightly for a short time. At 6 o'clock, he went into the bathroom to wash, brush his teeth, and freshen up. He came back and sat for a few minutes as he put on tilak. When that was completed, he took a reddish Ayurvedic medicinal pellet called Yogendra Rasa. After I had crushed it with a large roasted cardamom seed and then mixed it with honey in a small oval mortar, he added a little water. He drank the mixture straight from the mortar, scraping up the residue with the pestle, which he then deposited on his tongue with an elegant twist of his fingers. Then Prabhupada prepared to leave for his morning walk. Getting up from his desk, he stood patiently as I helped him on first with his uttariya, the saffron top piece traditionally worn by all sannyasis, then with his heavy saffron-colored coat and his woolen hat. I finally hung his bead bag around his neck. So there's some of Srila Prabhupada's utilization of time. So there's the verse in the Srīmad Bhāgavatam that explains how the sun is taking away the life of all living entities. It's Srīmad Bhāgavatam Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 17. Ayor harati vai pumsam udyan astam chayan aso tasyarte yat kshano nita uttama shloka vartaya. Both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead. And I'll read a little bit of the purport because it's nice. This verse indirectly confirms the greater importance of utilizing the human form of life to realize our lost relationship with the Supreme Lord by acceleration of devotional service. Time and tide wait for no man. So the time indicated by the sunrise and the sunset will be uselessly wasted if such time is not properly utilized for realizing identification of spiritual values. Even a fraction of the duration of life wasted cannot be compensated by any amount of gold. Human life is simply awarded to a living entity, jiva, so he can realize his spiritual identity and his permanent source of happiness. A living entity, especially the human being, is seeking happiness because happiness is the natural situation of the living entity, but he is vainly seeking happiness in the material atmosphere. A living being is constitutionally a spiritual spark of the complete whole, and his happiness can be perfectly perceived in spiritual activities. The Lord is the complete spirit whole, and his name, form, quality, pastimes, entourage, and personality are all identical with him. So we see everyone's dying every day by some amount, and then eventually death is there. It's as sure as death. So it's good to not waste time. And Giri Prabhu and I were speaking about this yesterday, how in Srila Prabhupada's books, Prajalpa is compared to a highwayman. A highwayman is a type of robber. They rob you on the street and you're left with nothing. But Giri Prabhu added some nice further enlightenment to this, where he explained it's not, because we were talking about how it takes away everything. That's why it's called a highwayman. And this is explained nicely. I still remember where, but it takes away everything. Whatever good thing you've got going, steals it away. Prajalpa. It's a waste of time. And then maybe you've got some enthusiasm and determination in devotional service, and then just like a highwayman, it can just come and take away whatever good thing you've got going on and make you spaced out. But Giri Prabhu was explaining how it doesn't just take away what you have going on, but then it also, this type of thief is like one who steals everything in your home and then graffitis everywhere. He adds something to it because you've got some anartas in the heart. And then when speaking about all these mundane material things without some connection to devotional service or to Krishna or something practical,
then these anarthas, they come out, and you can contemplate them more and become attached to them more. And then like this, it's a slippery slope. So we were saying that it's not just a highwayman who steals something from your car, but it's like one who steals from your car and then passes stool in it. So it's, yeah, he stole my phone, my watch, this and that, but wait till you see what he left in the glove compartment. It's not just what he took, but it's what he left behind. So it's very unpalatable and nasty. So nobody can adjust time, but like we were hearing just yesterday, the sum of the effect of time can be displaced. We heard some examples of how some karma can be moved around, but no one can fully change time. But Krishna, he's beyond time and space. He's transcendental, divyam. But in Bhagavad Gita 4:9, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvataha taktvadeham punarjanma natimam eti swarjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So what is that transcendental nature? And one purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that it's Krishna, he's beyond time and space. So we're always limited by time and space. You might have a meeting with somebody, and you have to do so many things to adjust it, because you can only be at one place at one time. And then for space, you might be in one room, but you can't be in another one. But Krishna, he can be in 16,108 different places, all at the same time. As Jayadvaita Swami explained when he came here, Krishna, as far as space goes, he's got the universal form, bigger than the biggest. And he's also smaller than the smallest. He's in the atom. And then he also has his medium-sized form. So space is no problem for him, and time is no problem for him. He also, when he's explaining how he comes to this material world to enact his pastimes, you can see in the Bhagavad Gita, he doesn't explain that he's like on a punch card, he's got to clock in to, show up. Whenever the demons show up, and there's a rise of irreligion, he must clock in at that time, and that's his duty. And he doesn't explain it like that, but it's out of his sweet will, we see in the Bhagavad Gita, that to reciprocate with his devotees' love and devotion, he appears to have these pastimes with his devotees. It's up to him, out of his mercy and his sweet will, he appears. So Krishna, he's beyond time and space, so though nobody can defeat time or change time, Krishna, he can do all of these things. Like we see also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there were some kirtans going on, and Lord Chaitanya was seen to be dancing in each kirtan party at the same time. So by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, so he is Krishna himself, he can turn this Kali Yuga into just like Satya Yuga, where it can be even, what you say? Or better. So make it a favor, even though it's so unfavorable, such a nasty time, he can make it such a favorable situation for performing devotional service and going back home, back to Godhead. And so if we please him, if we can get his mercy by pleasing those who are dear to him, the spiritual master and Lord Chaitanya's pure devotees, then time can be changed. This nasty Kali Yuga can be actually made into a favorable situation. So one way that can be done is by distributing these books of Srila Prabhupada. So there's a few quotes I read recently about the distribution of the Srīmad Bhāgavatam. I can give where they are later. I just wrote down the exact quote. If someone wants it, in the moment I'm saying it, it can also be looked up word for word. I guess I can put this on the board, but it's in a note, so it's a little bit not well formatted. By our Krishna consciousness movement, we are trying to distribute Srīmad Bhāgavatam. I took a picture and did the scan thing. That's why there's some errors. By our Krishna consciousness movement, we are trying to distribute Srīmad Bhāgavatam so that anyone in any part of the world can be absorbed in the Krishna consciousness movement by chanting and hearing about the activities of Krishna and be freed from all material tribulations. Sorry for this really bad formatting. The message of these two books can solve all the world's problems. If we follow the instruction of Bhagavad Gita and Krishna, then problems will be solved. Let's see. Educating the people systematically in the teachings of Srīmad Bhāgavatam will clear up the hazy atmosphere of corruption, bribery, blackmail, etc. Bhagavad Gita, as it is, and Srīmad Bhāgavatam are done very authoritatively to appeal to all classes of men. If one adheres to these two books, Bhagavad Gita and Srīmad Bhāgavatam, one is sure to obtain the association of Krishna in the next life. Tyaktva punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna, Bhagavad Gita 4:9. Therefore, distribution of Srīmad Bhāgavatam all over the world is a great welfare activity for theologians, philosophers, transcendentalists, and yogis. Yoginam api sarvesham, Bhagavad Gita 6:47, as well as for all people in general. So the Srīmad Bhāgavatam is for all people in general. And we get to see many examples of this, how people that you wouldn't even expect to take the Srīmad Bhāgavatam, anyone's taking it. There's professors taking it. There's completely insane people at the BMSE, Body, Mind, Spirit Expo, taking it. There's tattoo artists taking it. There's this psychedelic scientist yesterday taking Srīmad Bhāgavatam. People from India, America, Russia, Africa, everywhere. So, Nigeria. So the Srīmad Bhāgavatam is for everyone, and it's the greatest welfare activity to distribute Srīmad Bhāgavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Mood and Mission of Srila Prabhupada and Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava and all these sets of Krishna consciousness books and the Garga Samhita. So we can distribute these sets of Krishna literature and people will be extremely benefited. And then we also become benefited by pleasing Krishna and Lord Chaitanya by engaging in this yagya, Sankirtan yagya. So it's like, just like the yagya, someone was asking Srila Prabhupada in one class, he's giving a class in India, and then someone had a nice question. They were saying, well, is what you believe dualism or non-dualism? Is it Dvaita or Advaita? And they're getting all this, showing how smart they are. And then Srila Prabhupada was saying, what is the use, I'm paraphrasing, but what is the use of this Dvaita and Advaita? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that all living entities subsist on grains, and grains come from rains, and rains are given when one performs yagya, and one can do yagya by doing their prescribed duties. So like this, Srila Prabhupada, he always brought it back to something practical in his preaching. It wasn't just some pie in the sky, Vedanta Society. I've never even been to the Vedanta Society, but you can just tell by the name of it, it's going to be something powerful. So it's not some pie in the sky, you just philosophize all day, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, but he gave something practical. So we can see that this Sankirtan Yagya, just like when one performs yagya, then all necessities are there with the rains and grains, and living beings subsist on these grains so they can survive. So when one performs a Sankirtan yagya, it's a yagya. So everything that's needed is provided. So when one distributes Srīmad Bhāgavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita and all of these sets of Krishna literature, then everything that's needed is provided. And also, what's the point of the yagya? It's to please the Yagya Purusha, it's to please Krishna. So Krishna becomes pleased, Lord Chaitanya becomes pleased. And then this situation of Kali Yuga where all sorts of people are propagating bogus philosophies, scientists who are supposed to give the truth are giving something that doesn't make any sense, and then even sometimes devotees who are given the truth and then meant to give that to others want to give something else or try to buddy up to the scientists and demons and all of these people, give something else. This whole crazy situation can all be changed by this Sankirtan Yagya. And where do the devotees reside and show the ideal practice of pleasing Lord Chaitanya and Krishna? It's on Daivi Varnashram farm communities, which are bases for the devotees to then be sent out, just like during wartime, and drop thousands of bombs, and the bombs are the books. into the laps of the conditioned souls. So I'm sure many devotees here have quoted some of those statements many times already, but they're always ecstatic. So are there any comments or questions in relation to the calculation of time from the atom or any of these things? Yes, Motsa Prabhu.
Do you have that?
About the sun and the water?
No, I mean that'll be nice. But do you have that quote from that we found in Garga Samhita of Dhanavir Maharaj performing tapasya in order for him to get full understanding of Vedic cosmology, in order for him to present the book to the Vedic planetarium? We do you remember? We found that.
Oh, I remember some of it. I don't think I'll be able to get the exact quote on my phone right now. But he wasn't saying that he did this tapasya and got full knowledge of the Vedic cosmology, but that they went to, what is it? Is it called Bindu Sarovara, where all these holy rivers then go into the sea? Or maybe it's, where is it called? Sagara is in the name, I think. What's the name you just said?
Ganga Sagara is where the Ganga meets the ocean.
It might have been Ganga Sagara. But it is this spot where these holy rivers are going to the ocean, and then we see in the Vedas that Lord Kapila resides in this.
Badrikashram, isn't it?
No, Kapila resides in this Ganga this Ganga Sagar. The place Kapilashram. It's in.
It's near Ganga Sagara?
No, it's that place, the confluence of where the Ganga
Okay.
Ganges meets the ocean.
And it's called Ganga Sagara?
Kapilashram, Ganga Sagar. There's another word that's used in Prabhupada's books. That same place.
So he went there and sought the blessings of Lord Kapila and other great personalities for getting an understanding this Vedic cosmology before they that group of devotees, before they made that movie Vedic Cosmology, and then also some books about the 5th canto commentaries, seeking the blessings of Lord Kapila Dev and other personalities there.
What I was told that he also consulted Madhava works,
Mm-hmm.
specifically the Bhugola Varnana. It's one of the Madhava acharyas.
Also, in one of the verses, we just saw Nimisha. We saw what a Nimisha is. It's 1/16 of a second or something like that. We just saw in one of these verses. It says that Brahma's entire life is one Nimisha of Krishna's time. The entire life of Lord Brahma. And Shukadeva Goswami says that if you study for 20,000 lives the cosmology of the universe, then you may actually understand the cosmology of the universe.
Wow. Any other comments, questions? Yes, Prabhu?
So the universe has the outer coverings of earth, earth, water, fire, air, etc.
Yeah, all the elements.
And then the jiva also has this covering.
Yes.
And in the mystic process of, liberation, the yogi somehow manually transcends these coverings. So I was wondering, the jiva is covered by these things and the universe is covered by these things. Is it like two separate coverings? Is that the yogi?
Yeah, it's not like a metaphor or something that since the jiva is covered by them, then he goes out of all of them at once. But yeah, we're covered by them. This body, it's made out of those coverings, but then also the universe. You've got the hollow section, which is 4 billion miles in diameter, and then there's like a hollow ball, and then you go you get to the edge of that, you go through there, and then there's these layers. So first you've got a layer of earth, then water, fire, air, like that, and each one is twice the size of the last one. And you can hear a journey through those in the Srīmad Bhāgavatam Canto. Gopakumar, he travels through each of these layers and sees what's going on there
on his way out of the material universe.
So does a yogi have to go through two sets of coverings, like his own covering and then the universe covering also?
Yeah, if he's leaving the body, I mean, you're going out of the... Well, yeah, we see in the Bhagavatam, you can read those different parts of when yogis are leaving the body. Like when Dhritarashtra, he's amalgamating all the different elements and leaving the body. So, yeah, first they go through this body, which is made of all of those elements, gross and subtle, and then they pass up through the universe on some specific route, and then they have to go out through these coverings. Sometimes it's explained that they go out through the hole in the top of the universe made by Vamanadev's lotus toe, and he pierced the top of the universe. Like there's a description in the first book of the Garga Samhita where you hear in the Krishna book how the demigods are seeking some help from Krishna to descend and take care of this problem with the overly strong demoniac forces. And so in the Garga Samhita, in the first book, it's explained this journey that the demigods altogether take out of this material universe and how they go up through that hole made by Vamanadev's toe. And once they leave out through the universe, they're looking down and they see them all looking like these fruits on the causal ocean. They see all the material universes and they're frightened looking down and seeing all of them. And then the same situation happens that we hear in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where once Brahma gets to the gate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he's wanting some meeting with him, he's asked, well, which Brahma? So that's not the only time when he's asked which Brahma. Happens again there. And they again get... Well, in the example we hear in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a nice example is given to him where all the Brahmas are brought there. But we hear in this, it's another instance where it happens in the Garga Samhita. This time the demigods get chastised when they're saying, what do you mean which Brahma? It's us. They get chastised. So yeah, they've passed through both the coverings. Is there another question or comment or correction?
Technically, the yogi isn't passing through as much as he's, because for instance, the subtle body is described in the Bhagavatam that he goes to the planet of Agni-Dev. Like it's burned over there. And then he goes from there. So, at least with this particular body, it's not that the yogi is necessarily passing through. It's more like giving up.
I see.
So
He's not it's not that the soul is passing out of each layer.
I mean, like anybody dies, has to leave the body. But it's a little different when the passing through the coverings of the universe in which you are completely trapped. So it's a little difference there. It's a little technical, but the yogi cannot pass through his subtle covering. It's explained. That's why he goes to the planet of Agni.
Where it's
who deals
burnt.
with that.
I just have like a question and a few comments. Is the universe like described as a sphere then?
Sphere, it's like Brahmanda. It's like an egg shape on its side.
So then the upper planetary systems are like literally above, and then the lower planetary systems are literally below, right?
Yeah, and the distances are described also for these, the planetary systems. You can see a whole chart of the different, or there's also the Goloka chart downstairs if you want to see it visually mapped out. But you can also read the distances. So you've got the Earth around the middle, the earthly planetary system, and then there's higher and higher and higher planetary systems going up.
Also, the scientists speculate that the diameter of our solar system is like 6 billion miles, and then they speculate even more that the universe's diameter is like 600 sextillion miles, which is like a quadrillion times.
And how did they measure the distance?
I don't know.
You haven't heard any?
It's like it's how far. I think they say the observable universe, so it's like how far they can see. I guess.
Have
like,
you heard
with
any
energy.
explanation for how they
know that distance that they're observing?
Like for the stars?
Yeah, how do they come to the conclusion of the distance?
I think it's
Of the
they
universe?
they use the speed of light to calculate like how long it takes. Yeah.
Also, they claim that they sent their satellites out, whatever their spaceship, whatever it is. They sent it all the way to Pluto, is what they claim. Some of them fly by, and I don't know how the damn thing communicates from there to the Earth, but that's what they claim. They say fly by, and then they take photos of this, and then they send it to Earth. And
So from photos on a spaceship
well,
sent to
they technically they've gone to the edge of the solar system. I don't know.
on a spaceship sent to
I
Pluto.
I
which-
cannot imagine how they managed to communicate with something off in Pluto, while there are so many places on Earth where they can't get network connections to.
Hmm.
I don't understand. I'm just. It's certainly different, but I mean, I just. They say that they've explored the ocean less than they have the solar system.
That makes so much sense.
And it's just, most of the ocean they don't know. That's why they talk about Pluto and Neptune and this plane with 370 passengers or whatever, several passengers, 300 passengers or something. Malaysian Airlines 370 just disappeared. Nobody knows where they are. They never found the wreckage of it. They don't know anything. They found something floating around sometime after a long time. Found one part, but they still don't know where it crashed. They don't know what happened to them. That's how much knowledge they have of just the Indian Ocean. Forget about the Pacific, which is much bigger than the Indian Ocean. I don't know.
And they sent that spaceship to Pluto, which is no longer a planet.
Yeah. and the speed of light, my Guru Maharaj says, that's also a massive speculation. Because every time you measure, some scientists may measure it, let's just say it's 10 to the, 10 times 10 to the power 8. And then someone else may measure it to be something else. And then you just do the average of everyone's measurement, and they're 3 into 10 to the power 8, miles per second, what? Meters per second.
And how do you measure light?
That's what Guru Maharaj said. I don't know.
And how do you measure the speed of light?
I mean, because that's the satellite probe you're talking about. They say it's like even like further out of it because they sent it like 30 years ago. Yeah, so they say it's like really far out. But because it uses radio waves, which travels at the speed of light, and then it takes like half an hour, like when it's a certain distance, or it takes like an hour to communicate. So it's like the first, and then they use that.
That's what they say they measure.
So, like,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah. And it's like the same thing, like the distance for like the sun. It's like the whole thing.
The thing is, the Prabhupada would say, these are the same people who say that the universe was created with the Big Bang.
Yeah.
So the same people who cannot accept the existence of the spirit soul. So, everything is questionable at that point.
Anything else? Mataji's? All right. Srīmad, oh, yep.
This one thing, this point you were making about how people, they devotees try to mend with the scientific bhav of the community, right? There's in Mood and Mission, there's a section where if you want to understand Srila Prabhupada, one important thing is that his literalist approach towards Shastra. He took everything Shastra says as it is, not like some kind of speculation nonsense, And anyway.
That's one of the things done with the 5th canto and these scientific parts. That's one of the excuses as well. They're just using the word like 4 billion miles and things like that. They're just using that as a metaphor. Yeah, so that's given. It might have been 4 billion miles, but there's some specific things that say, oh, that's just a metaphor. But then you'll see these same phrases and everything used and explained in other verses and other purports. So it's not a metaphor. All right, anything else? Srīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.